Hi, this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and I'm going to be continuing my coverage of the 2011 U.S. Chess Championship. And this is a round 3 victory by Sam Shankland over Larry Christiansen. So this is kind of a youth versus experience here, as Sam Shankland is an IM coming up. I don't know if he's gotten the GM title yet, but he's definitely close, if not. And Larry Christiansen has been I think he won the U.S. Championship a few times, starting in 1980. And so, yeah, let's start it off. So D4, Knight F6, E6, and Larry Christensen goes into this is a Nimzo-Indian now with Bishop B4, and this is a pretty standard Nimzo. And so, pretty much positional considerations for Black. He trades his dark square bishop. And so why everybody always says you want to keep the bishops. Well, usually you do, but in Nimzo, it's kind of a unique opening in that Black is going to put his pawns on dark squares, A5, D6, occasionally E5, and he's going to have a very comfortable game because he just traded the dark square bishop. So putting his pawns on dark squares, he's going to have the white square bishop as a good bishop. He's also going to fight for control of that E4 square, and occasionally plays F5 to back that up. Meanwhile, for white, he's got the two bishops, so he'd like to open the game up, but it can be a little difficult because of that E4 square is so firmly under Black's control. And so sometimes, you'll see B4, Bishop B2, Bishop D3 occasionally, and just pretty standard plans. Occasionally G3 to combat Black's idea, but it's it's a game, right? It's an opening. So A5, and now B3 is a good move. I mean, maybe Black could play A4 to cramp down, really clamp down on White's queen side. So B3. An important point to note: a lot of times you'll see grandmasters put their bishops on E2 like this, and the reason, it seems like, well, wouldn't you just want to go straight to Bishop D3 and point at Black's king? Well, the reason is sometimes D6 and E5, and then E4 is going to be a threat. So that's why the bishop's going on E2. So D6, Bishop B2. So if White can play D5 in the Nimzo, shutting down Black's bishop on B7 and opening up his own bishop on B2, he's usually going to get a better game. That's really the key to playing against the Nimzo, is you want to play D5. You want to open up your pieces and shut down Black's piece, one of Black's best pieces, the bishop on B7. So after A5, now B4, White, as so often happens in the Nimzo, White gets a space advantage on the queen side, and so sometimes he wants to play C5, occasionally C5 in conjunction with B5, and really trying to cramp down on Black. So C5 just to open the game up more than anything else. And so Rook FD8 may seem like a strange move. Maybe Black wants to play E5 here. But the reason that he moves the Rook to D8, the Rook FD8, is because if he takes, let's say he takes on B4, then this A file, he doesn't want White to invade on the A file with something like that. So that's why. And also, if he moves the A rook, the A5 pawn's going to hang. So that's not going to work either. So now it's kind of clearly defined. Nobody's really attacking on the king side, and play's really going on it's really going down on the queen side. Standard moves, H3 and H6, making looped for the king, and just maybe Black wants to play F5 and G5, for example. So H6 is just a useful all-around move. If the position isn't going too crazy, you got a second to play kind of safe, kind of prophylactic moves like that. So it's not a bad idea. In knight D2, so Black has a good knight on A4. White wants to trade it off, and Black still retains control of E4, but maybe White could be thinking about playing F3 and E4. Queen E1. So the queen is on a great square on E1. It's eyeing the queen side and the king side. So it's a very flexible square. And now I guess the players were where there's a time control. I think the players get an extra 30 moves, maybe around move 30. I'm not 100% sure for this tournament, but so you see players repeating moves. It's kind of like a draw offer sometimes, kind of like an informal draw offer, or often trying to gain time with the increment and towards the time control. And now Larry Christiansen with F5. So he's not happy with the draw, and he shouldn't be because he's having a great tournament so far. He's 2 out of 3 after losing this game, and Sam Shankland's 2.5 out of 3. Incredible tournament. But so F5 here makes sense. He wants to inhibit white from playing E4, gaining a lot of space in the center, and possibly, as he does in the game, he plays F4. So white gets in D5. And so now the position is starting to develop dynamically as white has achieved D5 in pretty favorable circumstance, shutting down the bishop on B7 and opening up his own bishop in return, his own dark square bishop. But black is getting some activity too with F4 because this knight is going to be very active and very well placed on F4. And let's say if white plays E4, well then black can just play E5 and angle to play G5. It's almost, I don't know. I mean, white's got C5 and some ideas there, but it's not so great. So E4 would continue to keep the position closed, would not favor white with his 2 bishops. And so he takes. So also the reason that Larry Christiansen just allowed him to take, because now it just opens up the bishop again. Although the opening of the position certainly favors white in most cases with these 2 bishops. So the knight's on F4. I mean, black has an active position. White has the 2 bishops. It's roughly equal. No, these pawns can be more of a weakness than a strength, the B4 and C4 pawns. I see a lot of times beginners, they think, oh, yeah, that's great, push the pawns up and all that. Well, sometimes you're doing more harm than good. And rook E1 just seizing an open file. Bishop C6, good centralizing move. Wants to play rook there, maybe take with the bishop, so makes sense. And now takes, and black's got to fight for the open files, otherwise white can simply place him in queen E3 and queen D7. So he can't just give up that file. And bishop takes and C5 definitely makes sense. I mean, black's got those pawns. White can't really, he doesn't want to move these pawns around his king if he can help it, because that's just, it's going to open the door for black. And so pawn takes. And here, I mean, this is, to me, this seems dead even. Black has a pass pawn. White has a very dangerous bishop. Maybe a small edge to white because of this continuous mate threat and this very powerful diagonal that he's got, and also with the other bishop coming to attack. But a queen and 2 bishops shouldn't be enough to mate here. I don't know. I mean, maybe, this is a win, but they're getting down into time trouble here. Both players are around 10 minutes. And it's definitely a lot tougher to defend in these kind of positions. So Larry Christiansen kind of moving the knight around. He's not really going to be able to making progress with his pawn as the dark square on D4 is just blockaded. So black is going to have a very tough time winning, but it's very tough for white to win as well. Because if he advances all these pawns around his king, he's going to open his king up to attack himself. So just kind of taking time here. A nice little shot with bishop C6 as the black queen is tied down to defending G7. So this is where it goes down, because the players are kind of just making moves, and I don't know what happened to Larry Christiansen here. He just fell apart. Maybe he was tired. He's been playing some great chess lately. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened. I really can't explain why he did this. Why not just, I mean, okay, so he's got to give up the D5 pawn. It's still going to be tough for white to win, but after queen H2 is like suicide. I guess he's trying to create some counterplay, put the queen close to the white king, but he just really fell apart. Maybe he just got tired after playing the game for so long. I don't know. And here, I mean, he still had 7-8 minutes left, so now this is going to be an easy victory for white. Up 2 pawns with the 2 bishops to attack black's king is very open. And Black simply can't force a perpetual. Here, white is just taking a little more time with repeating moves. And now the king is coming up, and white's definitely putting together some good mate threats. Black comes back to b8 to defend, and black just doesn't have enough. I mean, he's probably just playing on here. Both players are about 3 or 4 minutes just playing on. Maybe white will make a silly mistake. And now the black knight is pretty much trapped. And here, Larry Christiansen resigned because there's just no way to stop white from playing bishop f1 to g2, trapping that poor knight in the corner. So, a solid game by Sam Shankland. Larry Christiansen in an uncharacteristic meltdown. I don't really know what happened. But, a great game by Sam Shankland. Is kept up with the pressure, played solidly, and a deserved victory. So this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and thanks for tuning in.